I'll signal. I'll get over to the next lane. Wow, automatically turns off. Awesome. So smart turn signals is effectively what we have. It knows when I'm making a maneuver and can automatically turn themselves off without me having to press, because it was a pain to press the button on this over and over again each time you made a lane change, especially on the highway. Very much a pain. This is much improved. Much improved. Good job, Tesla. All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. We finally got an update after being deprived for quite a while. We've got the latest update, 2021 36.5.1. And this is a bit of a cumulative update since the last update that we got was 2021 32.22. And there's been a 2021.36 release with a lot of features that were specific to the refresh Model S. So we're going to focus today, not on all the vehicles. We're just going to focus on this vehicle because this is where I think a lot of the focus and attention for Tesla software updates are being made. So we'll focus on these. We'll go through each individual update one by one. We'll give some practical examples and we'll change up the format the way that we normally do it. Okay, so we'll start actually with the previous update because that's the most important. And then we'll jump back to the latest update, which is again, 2021 36.5.1. All right, so starting with this one, we'll talk about the yoke behavior changes. This is something that we talked about. A lot of owners have talked about that had the yoke, not so much the shape and feel of the yoke. It's really about the functionality of the yoke and the nature of a capacitive touch button in a driving centric environment. All right. So what we're talking about here is yoke behavior changes. Your turn signals will now automatically turn off when the vehicle detects a merge, fork, or lane change maneuver has been completed. If an upcoming navigation event is detected in the direction of the turn signal, or if the vehicle detects a subsequent lane change, the turn signal will not turn off until the maneuver is completed. Turn signals will always latch when pressed. Additionally, you can now press and hold to latch high beam and to activate windshield washer. And a little note that says turn signals will cancel based on steering angle regardless of the selected setting for automatic turn signals. So a lot to unpack here. And obviously the most important one was a little bit of a typo that was going around in the community, that you have to press and hold the high beam button to activate the windshield wiper fluid. That's not the case. Okay, so let's talk about this right now and see what they're talking about in more detail. Before, you would have to sensitively press this button, tap the button versus a longer press to activate functionality. And that was the same for turn signals. You would lightly tap or tap, a little bit harder, which again is very hard to do when you're actually driving the car. Being able to have that gentle pressure that a capacitive touch button requires. So Tesla has fine-tuned this and now made it so that you have to just press the button and then press and hold, which is actually the better way. So think about high beams. Before, you would have to press the high beam button and then you can use the scroll wheel to turn high beams on and off. And now what happens is when you press it, it flashes the light, as you can see up there, but you see that little circle. If you hold it, that'll activate auto high beam. So holding it activates auto high beam. Auto high beam is now on. Hold it again, it turns it off. Okay. So pressing it flashes the light. So if you want to flash someone, flash, 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 flash. But if you want to actually turn your auto high beams on, you press and hold and then it activates. Okay. So auto high beam is on. That's the way it should work. This is awesome. Beyond that, we also have the concept of the windshield wiper. This was the biggest pain because trying to turn the windshield wiper on or just get one swipe would automatically trigger the windshield wiper fluid, which again leaves your windshield all mucky, depending on the conditions. So the idea behind this was that you would tap once, it would have a windshield wiper swipe. You tap a little longer, it would actually spray the windshield wiper fluid. And that's not the way it should work. So right now, what they've done is effectively said, hey, press the button, triggers this menu, which you can manipulate from here to the different settings and keep it on auto if you'd like, but it just wipes the blades on and off. And I like the use of the actual instrument panel for this one. If you actually want to use the windshield wiper fluid, you now have to hold the button. Hold, see that? And now the windshield wiper fluid goes, which is great. Again, you can't accidentally do it now like you did before. You press it and it's intentional and you hold it down and you let it go. And that's the way it should work. Great job, Tesla. Great job in using this the way that it's intended. All right, so then again, it's press and hold for automatic high beams and then press and hold for windshield wiper fluid. They're not combined together. Let's try the turn signals, see what that looks like. I'll signal. I'll get over to the next lane. Wow, automatically turns off. Awesome. So smart turn signals is effectively what we have. It knows when I'm making a maneuver and can automatically turn themselves off without me having to press, because it was a pain to press the button on this over and over again each time you made a lane change, especially on the highway. Very much a pain. This is much improved. Much improved. Good job, Tesla. Make a regular turn. This one always worked because it would just latch in a certain position, so it would turn off. But again, press it, make a lane change, sees the maneuver is completed. Do it again to the left. Sees the maneuver is completed and automatically turns off. That is awesome. That is awesome. All right, so there you go. Smart turn signals, updated buttons for the yoke, updated use of the capacitive nature, and sort of getting rid of the capacitive nature in this particular instance and focusing on more of a standardized behavior for those capacitive buttons on the yoke, which is much improved. So great job on that one, Tesla. All right, next one is talking about Autopark. Now, obviously, whenever Tesla releases a new vehicle, a new hardware, they're a little bit delayed in the software features. It's never a one-to-one for all the features that were in the previous version. And that's no different here with the refresh Model S. There's a new interface, there's some new hardware behind the scenes. And so they're gradually bringing the software up to speed to where it needs to be. So they've now included Autopark, which wasn't there upon delivery, but is there for all the other cars that are out there. All right, so this being the newest vehicle, they're going to take their time and do it right, and they're going to do it a little bit differently. So right now, this says Autopark. Your vehicle can now automatically park in parallel and perpendicular spots while driving below 15 miles per hour. The instrument cluster will display a parking icon if it detects a potential parking spot. To initiate Autopark, tap and hold the Autopark button in the shift panel and release the steering yoke. For more information about Autopark, please refer to the owner's manual. Okay, so this is the ability for the car to, and I guess I can say this term because it seems pretty apt, to autonomously park on its own, where you just press a button to initiate it, and it does all the parking for you, both steering and pedals. And now what I believe in this instance is going to be using the cameras as opposed to the sensors. Previous versions and every other version, except for this version, has the sensors looking out for spaces. So it will look for two cars that have enough space in between them to park in between them, either at perpendicular or parallel parking. And that's how it would park. This one, I believe, is going to be using the cameras, and that's going to allow it to look at the actual lane markings for parking spots. Let's take a look at it right now and see what we're talking about. All right, so now let's try Autopark. I'll turn down here. This even says the one way. I'm sorry about that. But I'll turn down here and see if I can't trigger auto parking scenarios. Going the right speed, not quite triggering just now. Shows me that I'm going the wrong way down the wrong aisle for parking. So that's not good. But the lines are all here. They're all very visible. Somehow it's not working. We've never really had an issue with auto parking. Some other people have. But it's always worked consistently and reliably for us. Just being able to pass a spot. This was the previous version or the previous iteration. I'll make sure I go down the right one this time. Turn down this one. And I'm going below 15 miles an hour. Should be scanning for parking spots. Sees the lines. Oh, there we go. I see one. I passed it. Let me go back. Try again, and there it is. Passed it again. Okay, so it looks like it was trying to put me next to this car right here. Let me try again. Let me go forward a little bit. Scanning the spots, and there it is. Hold for Autopark. Hold for Autopark. I'm holding. Nice. Okay, so it's going in the spot right next to this car. So it didn't need a car next to it, but it did need some semblance of a car being there to denote it was a parking spot. So maybe not as vision-centric as I would assume, meaning that it couldn't park in just any of these empty lines. It needed a car to be there first and then recognize the spot next to it, which is still better than it was before needing two cars. Pretty good job on the lines. Good distance away from the next person. A little crooked. Let's see what it does. Car's coming. It's going to wait for this car. Foot hovering over the brake, preparing to take over as needed. And trying to straighten itself out. Okay. Not bad. Not bad. Better improvement in terms of being able to go into a spot that didn't require two cars to the left and right, just required one. But probably could have done a better job parking, assuming that it has all these cameras available to it. It should be able to park. Humans only have effectively two cameras, or one camera if you combine the two into one, to be able to see. And they do a better job parking sometimes. So again, good first step. Obviously, they can make improvements, and they will make improvements, because the last Autopark feature was pretty solid in terms of being able to park straight, depending on where the two cars were. Let's try one more. See if we can't get another thing to trigger. Again, I'm going the right speed. There it is. I think I passed it. So let me go back again. And here we go. I can do it in reverse too, so that's pretty cool. Press and hold. And again, it's just trying to park me next to a car. So this particular vision only sort of auto parking, which I presume is vision only, because otherwise it wouldn't know that there was a spot there and know the distance that it's trying to measure. A little funky right now. If someone's waiting for me like they are now, they're going to go around me because I'm taking too long. Lots of decision making here. But again, autonomously, I think I can use that word in this instance. The car is parking itself based on the lines, not necessarily the car, because the car is a little crooked and the car just left. But it's based on the line. So it sees the lines there. And as you see here, lined up pretty nicely. I'll pop that back up. Lined up pretty nicely here on the right and the left. Gave me a good enough space on the right because it knew a car was there. So I like that and appreciate that it gave me some space so the person doesn't open the door right into our car. Okay, so not bad, not great, but not bad either. And I think it has room for improvement, but I think it can get there pretty quickly. Next one we're talking about is cold weather improvements. Additional enhancements have been made to improve your vehicle's experience in cold weather. When you navigate to a supercharger, improved battery preconditioning delivers a faster charge. Preconditioning, for those that don't know, is when they heat the battery and warm it to the perfect condition that allows it to receive the maximum amount of charge. Seat heating via the Tesla app, improved temperature consistency throughout the cabin offers more comfort in cold weather. The windshield wiper wash sequence automatically adjusts to the vehicle's speed to better clear salt and grime. So this is good. This is all good stuff in preparation for cold weather. This will be the first season that production cars have seen cold weather. Typically, they would see them in different regions if it was shipped to other places like Norway, where it's cold a lot of the times. But since it's been primarily in the U.S. and only in the U.S., to my knowledge, they haven't really seen the winter. So this is preparing the cars, these 2021 refresh Model S's, for the winter conditions and making sure that we can precondition the car appropriately and effectively. As we know, we talked about the issue where when you sit in the car by yourself, when you turn on the climate, only the driver's climate comes on first. You have to activate the passenger climate to make the whole cabin more effective in terms of cooling or heating. So I think this is going to resolve that issue. Okay, so good job on that. Nothing to really show here. This is just talking about what's going to happen in terms of navigating to a supercharger. These are sort of behind the scenes things that you really can't see. But obviously you have the Tesla app, which we'll talk about when we talk about the latest mobile app improvements in the latest update. Okay. Next, we have language support. Your touchscreen is now available in over 20 languages. So this is also great as Tesla begins to expand its reach, expand its presence in different countries, or even in just native countries, and more people start to get their hands on them. They have the ability to now have the car's interface be represented in their native language, which is really, really good. So now it makes them feel more comfortable. And I presume that with the native language support in the UI is also some updates to that amazing natural language processor for Tesla voice commands to be able to understand the languages that it supports. So I think that's also a good thing. So kudos for Tesla on that one. This should be a welcome update for those speaking different languages and looking forward to seeing how they expand to other countries, other regions, and more languages over time. All right. Last but not least in this update is the Bioweapon defense mode, which it says you can now purge the vehicle of unhealthy particulates before entering your vehicle by turning on Bioweapon defense mode from your mobile app. Okay, so it needs the latest version of the mobile app, 4.1.0 at least. And now you can do this from your phone, which is amazing. As I mentioned in previous videos, Bioweapon defense mode is basically the name for the HEPA filter, the medical grade HEPA filter that's in these cars, the Model S and Model X, and I believe select Model Ys at the timing of this video. But the idea behind this is that this would basically purge the cabin of particulates. So if you have bad smells, if you have, germs in the car, you want to purge the vehicle, this is a great option. Now, before, what needed to happen is that you needed to actually click on climate and then click here to turn it on. And it would automatically turn off when you turn the vehicle off. Okay, so that was what happened before, and you really couldn't trigger it remotely. So think about a scenario where, baby goes to the bathroom in the car and there's a bad smell, or you have some really fragrant food that you might have in the car and it's just taking up the whole car and you want to get out. And what happens is when you get out, the food leaves, but if you left it on the seat or you left it on the floor, that smell retains and it stays in the seat, it stays in the car. And now when you come in the next day, you still kind of smell it and maybe it persists longer than the next day. So the idea behind this is that you can actually trigger this while you're outside the car. And this is going to allow you to be able to purge the cabin and make it as clean and as good as it needs to be for you to get into it. Now let's take a look at the mobile app features in 2021 36.5.1. All right, so let's talk about the mobile app. In the latest update, it says now you can adjust the charge current, scheduled departure, and schedule charge at your car's current location from the Tesla app, in addition to obviously the Bioweapon defense mode we talked about earlier. So let's open up the app. Okay, so within this version of the app, we have the ability to go to charging. And then from the charging menu, it actually opens this up in the car where you have the car open. You get to see all the details in terms of the range or the charge limit. Let's put it back here. And then now you can see the amps that you can change it to, right? So it mirrors exactly what the car is doing as well. So if I want to do 44 amps, 42 amps, whatever the case may be, you can do that there. And then if it was plugged in, you'd also be able to set the charging time as well at a given location. So that's also great. Okay, so you can see that. You can set the charging scheduled departure at this particular location. And you can also set the current as well. So this is really, really good because now you, instead of having to go to the car to be able to set your charge rate, as well as being able to set the scheduled departure, you can do that all from the Tesla app now. So again, bringing more functionality from the car to the actual application, which is great, right? Also in terms of Bioweapon's defense mode, let's take a look at that. Slide this menu up, and now you have defrost car, which again keeps the temperature nice and good and makes sure that the car is defrosted and ready to go in cold conditions, but also Bioweapon's defense mode. I can trigger that just like that. All right, turns it right on, clears the cabin of those different particulates and things like that. Gets very loud, and then you can turn it off obviously here. So again, great way to clear the cabin, clean the cabin when you're not in the car in preparation for you being in the car, or if you were just in the car and you left. That's also a welcome change. So good job to Tesla on that one. All right, so that's the latest update. That's everything that we have so far. Again, we're not going to talk about any other vehicles right now. We're just going to talk about this Model S because this seems to be the area where they focus on the most attention right now. But let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if you have any thoughts. Let me know if you're about to pick up your Model S and you're wondering about these updates. Let me know if you've gotten these updates and you have some feedback or some comments about how they can improve. Let me know your thoughts on this latest update. Until the next time, enjoy your day, enjoy your Tesla.